Hello students, welcome to biology class. Let's begin with module 1 of chapter 1, the living world. This chapter comes under unit 1, diversity in the living world, and it mainly deals with what is living, properties of living organisms, taxonomic categories and taxonomical aids. In this module, we shall discuss the definition of life and properties of living organisms. The living world comprises an amazing diversity of living organisms, and we find living organisms in different habitats, including extraordinary habitats like cold mountains, forests, deserts, oceans, hot springs, and so on. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of a population and among populations of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, make us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. So what is life? Let's see the definition of life. Life is a unique, complex organization of molecules expressing through chemical reactions which may lead to growth, development, responsiveness, adaptation, and reproduction. So life can be defined as a unique, complex organization of molecules which express through various chemical reactions, and these chemical reactions finally lead to the growth, development, responsiveness, adaptation, and reproduction in living organisms. What is a living organism? A living organism is self-replicating, evolving, and self-regulating interactive system capable of responding to an external stimuli. What is self-replication? Self-replication is the ability of an organism to replicate or reproduce itself autonomously. Evolving means to develop gradually from simple to more advanced form. And self-regulation is the ability to monitor and manage one's energy state, emotions, thoughts, and behavior. So, living organism is self-replicating, evolving, and self-regulating interactive system which is capable of responding to an external stimuli. Moving to the properties of living organisms. When we try to define living, we look for certain distinctive characteristics of living organisms which make them different from non-living objects. There are 5 properties of living organisms which make them distinct from non-living objects, and these 5 properties are: first one, growth; second, reproduction; third, metabolism; fourth, cellular organization; and last, consciousness. So growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness are the 5 properties of living organisms. Let's discuss each of these properties one by one. Growth is the first property of a living organism, and growth can be defined as increase in number and mass of cell by cell division. So all living organisms grow by the process of cell division. Cell division is the process by which a parent cell divides into 2 daughter cells. Look at this diagram. Here you can see a parent cell. Okay, this is a parent cell, and by the process of cell division, it divides into 2 daughter cells. Okay, it divides into 2 daughter cells. So by the process of cell division, all living organisms grow, and growth can be defined as increase in number and mass of the cell by cell division. Both unicellular and multicellular organisms grow by cell division. What are unicellular organisms? Unicellular organisms are organisms having only a single cell. They do not have a well-defined nucleus and cell organelles. Well-defined nucleus means a nucleus which is covered by a nuclear membrane. So in unicellular organisms, nucleus is not covered by a nuclear envelope. So the nucleus is not well-defined. Then multicellular organisms are organisms having 2 or more cells. Their body is made up of 2 or more cells. They have a well-defined nucleus and cell organelles. So both unicellular and multicellular organisms grow by the process of cell division. Both plants and animals grow by the process of cell division, but they exhibit slight changes in the pattern of growth. In case of plants, growth by cell division occurs continuously throughout their lifespan. In plants, growth is continuous throughout their life, but in case of animals, growth stops after a particular stage. Okay, on reaching a certain age, growth stops. However, cell division occurs in certain tissues to replace lost cells, but cell division occurs in certain tissues to replace the lost cells. Okay, so this is a major difference between growth in plants and animals. In plants, growth is continuous throughout their lifespan, but in case of animals, it stops after a certain age. Non-living objects also grow if we take increase in body mass as a criterion for growth. Do you remember the definition of growth? Growth can be defined as increase in number and mass of cell by cell division. And if we consider increase in mass as a criteria for growth, we can say that non-living objects also grow. For example, mountains, boulders and sand mounds do grow. What are boulders? Boulders are large rocks. So mountains, boulders and sand mounds, they are non-living objects and they grow by the process of accumulation of materials over their surface. Okay? They increase in mass by the accumulation of materials on their surface. So if we consider increase in body mass as a criteria for growth, we can say that non-living objects also grow, because non-living objects increase in mass by the accumulation of materials on their surface. And in living organisms, growth is from inside. Okay, in case of living organism, growth is from inside, but in case of non-living objects, growth is from outside. It is due to the accumulation of materials on their surface. So, in case of non-living objects, growth is from outside, but in living organism, growth is always from inside. And a dead organism does not grow. Dead organism does not grow. So, we cannot consider growth as a defining property of living organism. Growth is a property of living organism, but it cannot be considered as a defining property of living organism. This is because non-living objects can also grow if we take increase in body mass as a criteria for growth. And also dead organisms, they do not grow. So because of these reasons, we cannot consider growth as a defining property of living organism. Moving to the next property of living organism, that is reproduction. Reproduction is a production of progeny having features similar to those of parents. What is progeny? Progeny means offsprings or young ones. Okay, so reproduction is a process of production of progeny having features similar to their parents. Organisms reproduce sexually as well as asexually. There are two modes of reproduction exhibited by living organism, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Different organisms show different modes of reproduction. For example, fungi multiply and spread easily due to millions of asexual spores. Fungi reproduce with the help of asexual spores, while yeast and hydra, they reproduce by the process of budding. Look at the first diagram. Here you can see budding in hydra. Okay, and in the first diagram you can see parent hydra. Okay, this is a parent hydra. So by the process of budding, a bud arises in the body of parent. Okay, in the body of parent hydra, a new bud arises. This bud gradually grows and it develops tentacles and mouth. In the fourth diagram, you can see tentacles. Okay, tentacles and also mouth. And finally, this bud detaches from the parent body to form a new hydra. So after the development of mouth and tentacles, this bud detaches from the parent body and it forms a new hydra. In the second picture, you can see budding in yeast. So this is a parent yeast, and in the second picture, you can see a bud, a bud which arises from the parent body. Then here you can see a blue colored structure, that is nucleus. Nucleus of the parent cell divides, nucleus of the parent yeast divides, and one of the nucleus moves to the bud. So after the migration of nucleus into the bud detaches from the parent body and forms a new yeast cell. So this is the process of budding in yeast and hydra. I hope it is clear to you. So both hydra and yeast reproduce by the process of budding. Then planaria. Planaria is also known as flatworms. They reproduce by the process of regeneration. Then filamentous algae and protonema of mosses reproduce by the process of fragmentation. In the first diagram, you can see a parent planaria. This is a planaria, and this planaria can be divided into three fragments. These are the three fragments of this parent planaria. Each fragment have the ability to regenerate the lost parts and form a new organism. So the three fragments, they have the ability to regenerate the lost parts and develop into a complete organism. In the second picture, you can see filamentous algae, and this filamentous algae can also be divided into fragments, and each fragment have the ability to regenerate lost parts and form a complete organism. They can develop, each fragment have the ability to regenerate and develop into a new organism. So planaria and also filamentous algae reproduce by the process of regeneration. And when it comes to unicellular organisms like bacteria, unicellular algae or amoeba, reproduction is synonymous with growth. We know that unicellular organism consists of only a single cell. And this single cell divides into two daughter cells by the process of cell division. An increase in number of cells can be considered as growth. And unicellular organism reproduce by the process of cell division. So during reproduction also, a single cell divides into two daughter cells. So that can be considered as reproduction also. So increase in number of cell can be considered as growth and also reproduction in case of unicellular organisms. So reproduction is synonymous with growth in case of unicellular organism. And further, there are many organisms which do not reproduce. Some living organisms do not have the ability to reproduce. For example, mule, sterile worker bees and infertile human couples. They are not able to produce their progeny. In the first picture, you can see a mule. What is mule? Mule is a progeny of a male donkey and a female horse. And mule is sterile. They do not have the ability to reproduce. And in the second diagram, you can see worker honeybees. Worker honeybees are infertile. So some living organisms like mule, sterile worker bees and infertile human couples are not able to produce their progeny. Hence, reproduction cannot be considered an all-inclusive defining property of living organism. This is because there are some living organisms which are not capable of reproduction. And we know that non-living objects do not have the ability to reproduce. They are not capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. So even though non-living objects cannot reproduce, reproduction cannot be considered an all-inclusive defining property of living organism. This is because there are some living organisms like mules, sterile worker bees, and infertile human couples which do not reproduce. So both growth and reproduction cannot be considered an all-inclusive defining property of living organism. The third property of living organism is metabolism. All living organisms are made up of chemicals, and these chemicals, small and big, belong to various classes, sizes, functions, etc., and are constantly being made and changed into some other biomolecules. What are biomolecules? Biomolecules are molecules present inside a living cell. Okay, biomolecules are molecules present in a living organism. So living organisms are made up of chemicals, and these chemicals are constantly synthesized and changed into some form or other. And these conversions are chemical reactions or metabolic reactions. So we know that the chemicals present in living organisms are constantly synthesized and they are being converted into some form or other, and these conversions are chemical reactions or metabolic reactions. And there are thousands of metabolic reactions occurring simultaneously inside a living organism, be they unicellular or multicellular. So both in unicellular and multicellular organism, metabolic reactions occurs. Metabolism can be defined as a sum total of all the chemical reactions occurring in living organism, and it includes catabolism and anabolism. So metabolism is the sum total of all the chemical reactions occurring in living organism, and it includes catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism is a process of breakdown of complex macromolecules into simpler molecules. During this process, energy is released. For example, fat is a complex macromolecule. During digestion, fat is broken down into simpler molecules like fatty acid and glycerol. And anabolism is a process of synthesis of complex macromolecules from simpler molecules. Amino acids are simpler molecules, and this amino acids combines to form proteins, which is a macromolecule. Okay, amino acids are simpler molecules, and these amino acids join to form proteins. Okay, from amino acids, proteins are synthesized, and proteins are macromolecules. So anabolism is a process of synthesis of macromolecules from simpler molecules. So both catabolic reactions and anabolic reactions comes under metabolism. Look at the schematic representation. Here you can see the food materials. Okay, food contains complex macromolecules, and by the process of catabolism or by catabolic pathway, the complex macromolecules in food is broken down into simpler molecules, okay, to release energy. And these simpler molecules can be utilized for the synthesis of complex macromolecules by the process of anabolism. So during anabolism, the simpler molecules are utilized for the synthesis of complex macromolecules. And both catabolic and anabolic pathways together contribute to the metabolism. No non-living object exhibit metabolism. Non-living objects do not exhibit metabolism. Metabolic reactions can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free systems. So the metabolic reactions which occur inside a living cell can be demonstrated in laboratories, but such reactions performed in laboratories is neither considered living nor non-living. So we can say that metabolism is a defining feature of living organism. It's because non-living objects do not exhibit metabolic reactions. Okay, it occurs only in living organism. So metabolism can be considered as a defining property of living organism. The next property of living organism is cellular organization. Each and every living organism is made up of cells. We know that cell is a structural and functional unit of life. Both unicellular and multicellular organisms are made up of cells. And no non-living object is composed of cells. Non-living objects are not made up of cells. So, cellular organization of body is a defining feature of life forms. So, we can say that cellular organization of the body is a defining feature of living organism. And the next property of living organism is consciousness. Consciousness is the ability to sense surroundings or environment and respond to environmental stimuli, and this environmental stimuli could be physical, chemical or biological. So, consciousness is the ability of an organism to sense their surroundings or environment and respond to the environmental stimuli, and this stimuli could be physical, chemical or biological. Living organisms sense their environment to sense organs. So, living organisms have sense organs, and with the help of these sense organs, they can sense their surrounding and also respond to the stimuli. Plants respond to external factors like light, water, temperature, other organisms, pollutants and so on. And all organisms from prokaryotes to most complex eukaryotes can sense and respond to environmental cues. What are environmental cues? Cues means signals. So, both prokaryotes and eukaryotes. What are prokaryotes? Prokaryotes are unicellular organisms which do not have a well-defined nucleus. Okay, prokaryotes are organisms made up of only a single cell, and they do not have a well-defined nucleus and cell organelles. While prokaryotes are complex multicellular organisms made up of well-defined nucleus and cell organelles. Okay. So, eukaryotes are multicellular organisms which have a well-defined nucleus and cell organelles. And both eukaryotes and prokaryotes have the ability to sense their environment and respond to the environmental stimuli. Photoperiod affects reproduction in seasonal breeders, both plants and animals. So, some plants and animals are seasonal breeders, and photoperiod affects their reproduction. Photoperiod is the duration of exposure to light. So, the duration of exposure to light affects reproduction in seasonal breeders. And all organisms can handle chemicals entering their bodies. And all organisms therefore are aware of their surroundings. So, we can say that all organisms are conscious of their surroundings. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself. So, human being is the only organism who is aware of himself, that is, has self-consciousness. Human beings has self-consciousness. So, we can say that consciousness is a defining property of living organism. Okay. Non-living objects are not conscious, but all living organisms from prokaryotes to eukaryotes are conscious, or they have the ability to sense their environment and respond to the environmental stimuli. So, we can say that consciousness is the defining property of living organism. So far, we were discussing about the properties of living organism. There are 5 properties of living organism, and among these 5, the first 2, that is growth and reproduction, are non-defining properties, while metabolism, cellular organization and consciousness are the defining properties of living organism. Now, let's discuss some possible questions that might be asked from this module. First question, how is growth exhibited by non-living objects different from that in living organism? Growth can be defined as increase in number and mass of cell by cell division. In living organism, growth is from inside. But in case of non-living objects, growth is from outside due to the accumulation of materials on their surface. Okay. So living organisms grow from inside, while non-living objects grow by the accumulation of materials on their surface. Their growth is from outside. So this is a major difference between growth exhibited by non-living objects and living organisms. Second question, why cannot reproduction be considered as a defining characteristics of living organism? So we cannot consider reproduction as a defining feature of living organism. This is because there are some living organisms which do not have the ability to reproduce. For example, mule, worker honeybees and infertile human couples. Even though non-living objects do not exhibit reproduction, we cannot consider reproduction as a defining feature of living organism. This is because there are some living organisms who cannot reproduce. Third question, when we try to define living, we look for certain distinctive characteristics of living organism. Mention 5 such features. We know that there are 5 properties of living organism which make them distinct from non-living objects. Growth, reproduction, cellular organization, consciousness and metabolism are the 5 properties of living organism. And among these 5 properties, growth and reproduction are non-defining properties, while metabolism, cellular organization and consciousness are the defining properties of living organism. So in this module, we have learned the definition of life and properties of living organism. I hope this topic is clear to you. So read your textbook, underline the important points and study them. Also write the answers of these questions in your notebook. And if you have any doubts, please clarify it. Let's discuss the remaining topics in the next modules of this chapter. Thank you and have a nice day.